Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. Lynda, you're welcome to the studio, and it is a distinct pleasure to continue with our discussion on our MRA presentation, which you have compiled nicely in our book, MRA Made Simple, Seriously. And this is our notebook, or shall we say, addendum to our Compliance Made Simple, Seriously. And I realize none of them is serious, although they're very serious. Medicare risk adjustment and compliance. And over the years, 17 years, we have discussed compliance and we have discussed it in our previous meetings. Do you want to say anything about this? Anything particular that stands out for you, or an issue that you think our listeners and viewers must know?
Well, Medicare risk adjustment is so new. It's so different than what we know as billers, coders, documentation people, providers. If you're exposed to any kind of billing or the business side of medicine at all, fee-for-service has been around since we lived in caves, and the hunter gave the medicine man a rabbit out of his snare for knocking out a rotten tooth. That's a fee for a service. The rabbit for performing the service of knocking out the tooth. But Medicare risk adjustment's only been around since 2004. So it's a very recent thing. And it is specific, it started out specific to managed care only, but it has ramifications in straight Medicare, and I think, I believe it's heading into anything that was fee-for-service has Medicare risk adjustment tentacles reaching out to it. And as we said with compliance, the whole big umbrella of compliance not being taught in medical school, or I don't know, for an administrator or anybody else in the medical profession, Medicare risk adjustment is not, I don't believe, being taught anywhere. And first of all and foremost, what is it? Fee-for-service is a reimbursement model. You perform a service, you send a bill, you get paid. And Medicare risk adjustment is a completely different thing. It works completely different. It funds. It doesn't, you don't have to see the patient in order for money to move. So it's a completely different animal than what anybody who might have had anything to do with billing or any of that before would know.
So I realize, we are part of some GME education programs, and we have started teaching the residents about Medicare risk adjustment. But I must tell you, and this is my realization after talking to all these consultants, that even the consultants seem to disagree and have their own opinions. You have one kind of letter from one kind of entity, and then another consultant will disagree vehemently. And I think what my understanding, and at least our understanding, is more and more we should get out of talking about the HCC codes or what the MRA means, in which case, this is like a disclaimer for the book. Maybe they should not read it like as if this is a coding manual. They should read it, see the medical aspects, the clinical aspects of medicine, and focus on the clinical aspects of medicine, and realize if we do good medicine, it'll come out as good coding.
Oh yeah, well, the book was not meant, this book is
Yes.
not meant as a coding book at all. All it is an explanation as to how this works. What is this funding methodology and how does it work? It really doesn't give you any, it really doesn't talk about, what you should be documenting and so on and so forth. It's just, what is its impact, period.
Right. So, and that is where it is interesting that some of the consultants feel that we are leading our physicians to thinking more about HCC and not thinking about clinical care and patient care.
Well, it's a matter of understanding,
Right.
just understanding the principles behind it. I don't think I don't know. Not this book, certainly. This book just says, this is how it works, and this is why
Right.
documentation is so important. It is so important. I mean, whether you're talking fee-for-service or you're talking Medicare risk adjustment, it all starts with the progress note. And if you don't get that right, nothing else is right. And that goes right back to what you were just saying about the clinical processes. Someone who doesn't know you and doesn't know your patient, was not in the room with you or on the phone with you when this visit took place, a total stranger has to be able to read that progress note and know what happened and know what your thought processes were. And that's the crux of the matter for Medicare risk adjustment. What are your thought processes? How did you get to M when you started at A? What is the algorithm of thought for a patient who drank for many years and now is dealing with whatever? How did you get to the treatment for whatever? And that's really at the bottom of it all. It's how do you tell someone who doesn't know you or your patient what happened on that day and why you did the things you did or didn't do the things you didn't do?
So that's exactly the point. So the next book should be Anti-MRA. Be a doctor. Be a provider.
Forget MRA. Be a doctor.
Yeah.
Make your mother happy. My son, the doctor. My
be
daughter,
a doctor, and write what you think is, and we will suggest how to, and we need to go back to the roots of medicine. Someone has diabetes. I check the eyes. I check the feet. I do the microfilament test. I check the urine. That is the right medicine. Someone is losing weight, lost 40 pounds in 3 weeks because they got their dentures taken out and they're not eating and only slurping some soup and they're getting malnourished. Well, and muscles are being lost and say their albumin has dropped and you go through your malnutrition criteria and you write it because you want to feed the person. So you're going to give them better food how much in the elderly, how much malnutrition we find, or someone has liver disease. Is it important to find out if they have other ramifications from it? So I think more and more I've understood that, we have to be who we are. And I think this is my major insight into it. Because if the consultants are disagreeing about MRA, why am I getting involved in that discussion? I should be concerned about diabetes, retinopathy, diabetic nephropathy. Write it down.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I have a person with back pain and I do the test, sacroiliitis or spinal stenosis, if it is not an HCC, so be it.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. So I was just, when you said that, I started looking at it and all these graphs and all that. And
this is how the score is created. And do
so
we care about the score? Do we care?
If you're a doctor, don't read this book. We need to do this. We need to have some fun because that, if this is seriously made simple seriously, then we have to say, doctors, please don't read this book. Providers, don't read this book. See, it would be like a anti-marketing of the highest order. If you want to be sane, if you want to emerge out of this as a physician who cares,
be a doctor. Be a doctor.
Yeah, and so this is what
in the immortal words of Bones on Star Trek.
Yeah,
I'm a doctor, damn it, not an architect.
So but having come to this, there are some things that I read, and sometimes I amaze myself when I read myself because, of course, I'm not taking the credit. In some inspired moment, I wrote that compliance is quality. And compliance is evidence-based medicine. And really, when I thought about it last night, I was just looking through this. Without compliance, everything collapses. If you don't have compliance, even your quality codes cannot be believed in. Even your So if someone has a problem in their organization with compliance, I guarantee you people will question their star ratings, their their patient safety.
So what you're
Because
saying is it causes a cascade effect.
right, if I cannot believe how I'm handling my data and if it's clean, if I cannot believe in the integrity of my chart, at what point will you stop then? Would you just say, okay, the mistake was just with diabetes, or the mistake could be with the colonoscopy report, with the eye exam, with asking patient about so and so, with your case managers calling them and getting their input. So, and I know this is an old statement which keeps coming back. Compliance really is culture. Compliance is not just the processes, not just the people. It's not even the mindset. It is something so inherent in the company. Uh, It is transparent, but it's always visible. And I think it is really the skeleton of an organization. And that is what I have finally tried to understand, because otherwise moments of non-compliance will always come. It will come in us, all of us. Moments of non-compliance will come because it's so easy to hide behind excuses and hide behind, and to have that honesty to say no, this is stop, this is the mirror, we're going to look at it and we're going to fix it. Because that easy compromise at any point is going to ruin the whole entity. It's like that thread in that what was that old mythology? You find the thread and the whole sweater comes undone because you're trying to pull that.
Yeah.
I think that is more and more I realize the fear, and of course it's a good thing, that do not allow things to be pushed under the rug. And that if and I know I keep repeating myself, but it is so important to remind ourselves, to remind each other, and remind everyone. It is far better to make it painful now
Yeah.
than make it painful later.
Yes.
I think just like what was that? What your mother should have told you when you were growing up, or what your mom told you when you were little. This is what it is about at the end of it, unfortunately or fortunately. But I'm sold on my own article now.
Well, it's good because you wrote a whole book with a lot of those articles.
I know I've been the primer and all that, and we were young in those days, far younger. We were idealistic, and so we had these different visions of creating an organization. But it is not easy to adhere to it. It is not easy.
No.
Every moment something will prop up, and then you've made you reach almost a choice. And I was reading Kierkegaard over the weekend. Kierkegaard, with whom existentialism began. Either or, and you have to make that choice. You have to make a choice. Either you be an aesthetic man or being a religious man. That's his terms, not mine. And by religion, he does not mean theology. By religion, he means being authentic. And that's where it comes to. We have a choice to be authentic. And this is the opportunity to being authentic. And keeping that, despite all our mistakes and our flaws and our limitations, we can be authentic. So that, if we can understand, I think our work is done. It's not easy. But
No, it's never easy.
yeah, so that's where it comes. Can we all agree to keep each other honest, keep each other transparent, and painful things can they be brought up and be discussed, and unless you bring them up and resolve them, they will always stay behind and they'll keep growing. So I think those are my two lessons in the last 2 weeks. So if the whole today's discussion is on these two lessons, I'm happy with it. I think sometimes as you get older, you start looking at things and you realize, uh-oh, I should have said this better. I should have said this better. So compliance is like breathing. That's my new insight. And you have to constantly keep doing it. You have to constantly keep learning consciously how to inhale.
Well, and that's the word. You have to be conscious. You cannot be unconscious. You have to be conscious and in the moment at all times. And when your little voice in your head says, you know, you really should have done this, you probably really should listen.
Yeah, so I used to have a simple rule. If there is something that you want to hide it, bring it out. If there's something you want to hide, bring it out. And this is an old, I think, in the primitive societies, Aboriginal societies, this was a principle that if someone was not feeling good about something, they would
Get
tell
it out.
they would
Get
tell the
it
whole
out.
village.
Yeah.
Everybody would know it. The problem is gone. So that again, don't tell the whole village, but at least at the leaders, because with PHI and all, you got to be careful here. The village can take the PHI, but at least everyone should know in the organization. You should be able to say, okay, this is the problem. I made a mistake. Let's fix it. And that if we can reach that, I guarantee you we'll have the best culture in the world, best compliance in the world, and it'll be all the issues will be gone. We should be able to say, hey, I goofed up. I made a mistake. We're done. Because then the entire approach is different, and if we can just reach that one point in the organization's evolution, we're done. So if that is my message to anybody who cares to listen, who wants to
Which is don't read the book.
Okay, don't read let me correct myself, and maybe some exaggeration for effect. Don't try to read the book as a coder.
Right.
Right. So I'm looking at some MRA assigned to say malnutrition and how they add up, but that we should not think like that. You know, and maybe it's something we have to consciously go back and say, okay, if someone has had alcohol, and this was the question that was brought up, patient drank alcohol 20 years ago, do you need to mention it?
Yeah.
I would say yes. Yes. If the person drank for 10 years a gallon of some, whatever, spritz.
Ripple.
Okay, whatever. I mean, beer.
Farm.
Beer. Three shots of Southern Discomfort, and each shot is a triple shot. Why should you not mention it, even if it's 20 years ago?
Absolutely, you should mention it.
So that came up. Remember, you don't need to discuss it because it was a long time ago. Well, the person has neuropathy from it now.
Yeah.
We had patients who started drinking beer at the age of 2, 3. Right? Is it important? Yes, of course, because there's a rock sitting here. This liver is turned into stone.
Well, what you're talking about, to me, the crux of the entire thing, managed care itself, MRA being, just a small part of it, is preventative medicine. Isn't that the whole point here? Is to find things early enough so that you can do something about it before the dominoes fall, before you have the cascade. Isn't the whole point to handle people? Look, as we all get older, we have chronic conditions. We develop them. It's inevitable. It's the rare person who gets to be, in their 70s or 80s or 90s and doesn't have some sort of chronic condition going on, whatever it is. Might be minor, might not be minor. The point is this, and as an RN, I feel very strongly about this, and I believe that, I've watched the quality measures come in and evidence-based medicine come in, and I've been a nurse since, the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, and I've watched medicine change over the years. And this, today, right now, to have a mission to allow people to live their best lives possible in the least restrictive environment that they can, for as long as they can, that's the vision, I think, of medicine, to to help people to learn how to care for themselves or work with their providers to live the best lives they can, despite the fact that they might have a chronic condition, to get the chronic conditions under control, to capture them or find them before they are out, grab the horses before they're running in the field, before they get out of the barn.
Right. So have an open mind to the person and really like a Columbo or a Sherlock Holmes, which is what medicine, when we were in medical school, my ideal was, I had two ideals. One was Sherlock Holmes. So I learned from how to be listening and watching and figuring out, because the one who wrote the Sherlock Holmes was actually a doctor. Arthur
Conan
Conan Doyle was a doctor,
Arthur
right?
Conan Doyle.
So he was a doctor. And so that's, he could look at different things and connect things and write. So picking up the whole person, you're building the story of the individual, that person who's coming,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So it should not become a hunt for MRA, and that's what I'm trying to say. This is not a gold mine. Okay, the person has come, let me start digging for gold. That is an epiphenomenon. That is not only secondary, that's tertiary. I think so. Consciously, we have to go back into being a doctor. And is it important to know person's alcohol history of alcohol abuse? Is it important to know whether they smoked or if they're smoking? And is it important to tell them not to smoke? And is it important to tell them to become aware of their subconscious, that they're intentionally harming themselves? And many of our patients are. They have some issues that they want to hurt themselves. So how do we approach this? You're looking at these codes of intentional self-harm. Is it intentional? Is it subconsciously intentional?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Freudianish? I don't know. I'm making it up as I go along. But hurting yourself because you're in pain, you lost your grandchild is not there, you don't want to live anymore. Becoming aware of that. Is it not important for us to go deeper into it? So that's what I think I have learned. Do not make this an opportunity to see the patient, and this is my profoundest observation for today. Do not make the person an opportunity for digging for gold. That is totally irrelevant and unimportant. That's why I'm saying don't read this book. An anti-marketing campaign we need to have.
Absolutely, don't read the book.
No, don't read it. Go into what good medicine is. Go into the person, get a good history, get a good story, build an engagement, build a relationship, and you want all the clues. I had a patient just last week, magnesium 1.1, potassium 2.4, and her primary has been giving her for 2-3 months, giving IV mag every couple of weeks, IV potassium. After 3 months, I go in just as a, not that I'm smarter. I'm there, a daughter is there, and I'm saying, okay, we need much more mag. So keep giving it every day. And they're all getting nervous. Isn't this too much mag? I said, 1.1, just keep giving every day. Just keep giving. Then a slight little nudge comes from the daughter, and I'm sitting, should she cut down on her alcohol? She's not been drinking and eating for the last 3 weeks because every time she drinks, she wants to throw up. So I'm saying, okay, this was the history.
Did
What about
no
the
one ask
alcohol?
if
Has
she
that been
drank?
passing through, huh?
Did no one ask if she drank? Did we
People will
not?
volunteer information when you pay attention to them.
Yeah.
So the whole approach changes, right? You sit there and you care for the person enough to just, and maybe it just happens that you have, and we are all harried, we are running around, we're crazy people, busy, and do this, do that, put this fire out. Just that, and maybe it's my good looks. Just 10 seconds of intense attention to the person, maybe we develop that relationship. Oh, that was a joke, by the way.
Well,
But
you are the Singh, though. You are. It may not be your looks. It's whatever.
yeah, the whole gestalt, right?
Yes.
The air. But
Yes.
that resolve. So then my conversation is different.
Yes.
Make And it is not the first time someone has told her to stop drinking. A year ago, her gastroenterologist told her to stop drinking. She said, "Oh, you're all full of nonsense," and I'm not going. She said something else also, but she did not listen to her gastroenterologist, and all this information is filtering through now,
Yeah.
and suddenly the picture becomes clear. So I think compliance is also an attitude and a whole approach, a clinical approach. A clinical approach to learning, to knowing about you. I care about you.
Well,
I
that's
respect
another whole
you.
book in itself is learning to listen. There's a difference, a very big difference
So,
between hearing and listening.
so isn't that compliance? Without it, what compliance can you have? So this is my brilliant insight for the hour.
Another one?
Another one.
Wow.
Just
Two
I'm
in 1 hour?
just coming out.
Oh,
It's just coming out. Today is a day for compliance. No, it's I think as we start understanding ourselves and how fragile we are, how flawed we are, how limited we are. We need to have that respect for ourselves and each other, and we make it a team effort. If we don't make it a team effort, it will fail. If it's an individual effort, it will crack someday, because each of us will be vulnerable and crack and make mistakes. Even unconsciously, we'll make mistakes. So I think make it a team effort. Let everyone know and keep each other honest, even if it annoys each other for a little while. Don't be sacrosanct about it. Don't be kind of sanctimonious about it. That was the word I was looking for. But in a good manner to get rid of the falsehoods and the the creepy crawlers that keep coming into our space all the time. So I think these insights are make compliance even more exciting to me and more justified to me. So I think we all are wiser today than we were, say, even 2 weeks ago. And meeting with national level consultants in compliance, we realize that we having a culture of compliance is a great thing, but compliance is only if you keep evolving to a new level every time. Every time you'll find something, as they say, new level and new devil. So you find a new devil, you say, okay, now I need to go beyond this. It requires a lot of soul searching. Eventually, compliance is about being authentic to oneself and being able to say, I'm sorry, being able to say, I'm grateful and I'm thankful. Very simple things, right? And being able to look into oneself and say, this is a blind spot I had, and let me become conscious and remove the blind spot. So that's really all I have. Anything else you want to talk about?
me?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think this summarizes our insight and understanding of compliance.
I think it's such a big topic. It's a one word. It's kind of like COPD being the umbrella over so many other pulmonary issues. Compliance is a huge umbrella, and so much falls underneath it. Things that you wouldn't even, and on the surface, consider to be a compliance issue. I guarantee you, if you look hard enough, or you look at a certain way, you will find that it is. It's kind of like the old idiom, you have 6 different people touching a different part of the elephant, and you ask them to explain what it is, what an elephant is, and you're going to get six different meanings of what that
Right.
elephant is. And that's compliance. That is compliance.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's like that age-old idiot that
It is.
that yeah, I it is absolutely true. So that is why we need to go back to the basics, the bedrock, and the bedrock of compliance is um, trying to heal people, trying to get them better, trying to ensure that they have a better life. The bedrock is having that empathy and that compassion. And if we remember that, then we will do the right thing. That's why we are here in this business. So that was my second ideal in medicine when I started. So all the great teachers who could heal people just by their presence,
By their touch.
with
Yeah.
their touch, restore eyesight and bring people back to life, and just sitting there and people would get better. That, can you imagine how much compassion they must have had, empathy, what wisdom they must have had? So I think we can aspire to do that. And if we remember that, I think because it's such a beautiful thing to try to do that, we will have no choice but to be compliant. And I think that is the secret. So I found the secret, Lynda, and it's known to everyone.
It's not such a secret.
That's okay. It's my discovery, and I'm very happy with it. And I think I can share it with everyone everyone already knows. So that's, I think that at that point, I think I'm going to bring you to Khalil Gibran. If you remember Khalil Gibran, Khalil Gibran is a very nice line, and I want to quote that to you. If you are traveling somewhere, don't tell anyone about it. If you are in love, don't tell anyone about it. If you are happy, don't tell anyone about it. Just appreciate it and realize how beautiful it is, and something like that. I just changed it based on my own little creativity. But that private thing, that is a secret. Everybody knows it, and I'm telling everyone about it. I shouldn't have told everyone about it. But yeah, keeping that private moment of joy and happiness and healing that we do in healthcare, that is actually not a secret. We all know it. We acknowledge it, and that's why we are compliant. So thank you for helping me discover this. Somehow or the other, you helped me figure it out. Even though you went through a whole book writing about nothing. It's like an absurd book, Don't read it. I'm giving you this book. Please don't read it. But this is the height of existential literature. So having said that, I'm so happy that we had some fun, and I hope people who see this will have the same fun. And I said, Garima just sent this: travel and tell no one, live a true love story and tell no one, live happily and tell no one. And that's the clincher. People ruin beautiful things. That came from Garima Sial. And thank you for that, Garima. It's such a beautiful line from Khalil Gibran. I think I read it somewhere today, floating around emails or WhatsApp. So to conclude our discussion on compliance, it's our individual joy that we need to respect, and individual sense of healing that we need to respect. But Khalil Gibran told everyone, so I think we can also follow his example and tell everyone to tell no one.
Yes. I'm going to put that on my wall in my office.
I'll forward it to you if I can find it. Maybe Garima can send it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Lynda. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and enjoy and have a beautiful, happy day like Khalil Gibran suggested.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.